people, Periscope people, Twitch people, YouTube. I'm coming for you. I think I'm about there. There it is. I see it changing. Look at me. I'm on a show. Laffy's going to carry me like he normally does on this one. NBA Strategy Show Friday, December 27th. I had no idea what day it was. Presented by Yahoo Sports, the only place where you can become a baller, a holiday baller. I am back. We are here to break down a 5-game Friday slate. I'm not going to lie.
You're on it. You know what? I'd never have thought you were sick.
Yeah, barely. Should I open my mouth really wide? You guys should see what's going on in the back there. Good stuff. I am shocked that there's a 5-game Friday slate today, and I have
very surprising.
Never been happier. I mean, I haven't looked at a rotation. I haven't looked at anything. So I sat down today thinking, I'm going to need to put some time in. This is going to be a while to go through these rotations. I was like, shit, please don't be 12 games. Please don't be 12 games. Please don't be 12 games. 5. Whoo, no, I'm going to be able to get through this bad boy.
I'm with you 100%, man, because I had, and now I'm getting sick, by the way.
I got one of those. We work together. It's
I was thinking, you know what? I was thinking the same thing. I was. You know how, like, did you know? Maybe I shouldn't say that. All right, I won't say it. Anyway, I had the early bird last night, and that was the third show of the day. I produced the NFL show, Road to Deep Dive, and I was like, okay, early bird. I was watching something with the wife on Netflix, and Dan's like, are you ready to go at 10:30? I was like, oh, fuck, I totally forgot I had this show. And, Dan keeping me afloat. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I'm just opening the app, waiting to see, because generally before and after big holidays that don't have games, like after Thanksgiving, it's the 14. Yeah. It's Thanksgiving sandwiched in between 2 14 gamers.
Yep.
So I'm like, oh, we only had 6 yesterday. This is going to be brutal. Oh my God, we have 5. And it was a glorious feeling. And it's actually a pretty good slate.
Yeah, it made me so happy. I don't know how I would have done it. I got to
Alex and Emac, Adam and Emac have 14 tomorrow. That's gonna suck.
Best of luck
on a Saturday.
Best of luck, boys.
Yep.
All right, so
Adam's got the early bird and the strategy show, 14 apiece.
Got nothing but time on his hands.
Unless there's some day games. There might be day games. He might get out of it. I don't know. I know there's 14 total games, but go ahead.
Let's see quick. We got 5-gamer today. We got some time.
There's 13 7 p.m. games or later.
Yeah. Only Memphis, Denver is early.
Oh, man.
Good luck, guys.
Godspeed, fellas.
Good luck.
Yeah. And then on Monday, you and I only have 6. So how about that? We are rocking.
Apparently the gods love me.
And next Friday we have 6. Are you kidding me?
Oh, I love it.
We might actually get it done in less than 3 hours.
I didn't get a chance to at least even mildly be slightly happy on an NBA show for this. Roosevelt Hooker said before, that 10K made Josh sick. He partied too hard. If only, my man. If only.
I didn't even know you won 10K until someone mentioned it. First of all, congrats. Second of all, you got sick like a day or 2 afterwards, so no one even knew anything.
Yeah, the DFS gods were like, we can't be giving him good shit.
I'll take the flu for 10 grand.
So this would have been something that we were able to dig into on Monday of this past week. Apparently, I was sitting in first for 50 until the final minute of the late game.
I heard, and that's what makes basketball so frustrating.
Yeah, that's the first time. I mean, I was obviously asleep before that game tipped off, so I had no idea. But it was fun, I guess. I was happy to wake up. I can't be too mad. It was good to need to talk about it a little bit on an NBA show.
I'm happy for you, man.
I'm happy about it. I'll buy a lot of Theraflu and cough drops and shit this week.
Did you play on Christmas Day?
I didn't. I don't even know who won.
The Sixers smoked the Bucks. Smoked them. Giannis Giannis had more missed field goals in that game than any game in his career.
The only thing that I saw about Christmas was Pat Beverly stripping LeBron and Giannis getting raked across the face and trying to fight the ref.
Yes. Well, he took a finger in the eyeball.
Yeah.
Did you see Embiid pull the chair out on him?
Nope.
Oh, that's a good one.
Nothing. I saw those two things cruise past my Instagram feed, and that is it. I know nothing that happened in the NBA over the past 4 days.
Warriors beat the Rockets, dude.
Of course they did.
By 12, I think. By 12, yeah. Warriors beat the Rockets. I think the Rockets were like, what's up?
Are Steph and Clay back?
I know, dude. It's crazy. And there were a lot of people that lost some money on those in like live betting that game for sure.
Oh God, you probably got a real good line on the Rockets, and then just
I think I forget. Yeah, crushed. I think the Rockets were like +5 after 3 quarters or something. I can't remember what it was, but it was like any rational person would say, yeah, I'm taking that bet.
You want to know how bad it really was?
Sure.
I accumulated, I don't know, like a decent amount of tickets on both DraftKings and FanDuel to both Santa events. Ran dummies and all of them for whatever they register you for automatically.
Oh,
nothing.
God.
Nothing. There's been nothing in my life, man.
Just
nothing
zeroed out all of them.
Yeah, nothing.
Because if I know anything, FanDuel dummy lineups, they should just not even bother.
Yeah. No, it was like Vlatko Konkar or whatever the hell his name is, and a bunch of other those idiots that are probably not in the NBA.
Oh, that's brutal, man.
Yeah. Anyway, so we got a lot to talk about. I'm going to try to talk for the next hour and change. We'll see how well that goes. And I'm going to try to talk again tonight for Live Before Lock. At some point in time in the middle of this day, the Tamiflu or whatever the hell it's called and those antibiotics are going to put me on my ass. I'm going to take a nice little nap, wake back up, deeper dive, Live Before Lock, the old Friday combo.
You are truly a man of the people.
I'm trying to be. Now, the man of the people are all of you guys for covering everything over the past couple of days.
We got you, man. You know who isn't a man of the people? De'Aaron Fox. Son of a bitch. Played 2 minutes last night. 2 minutes.
Was his price $4? Was he able to provide value on that?
Right. Well, actually, he was way underpriced, and he was a phenomenal play against the Minnesota Timberwolves and got nothing. And the game goes, here's the best part. Game goes to double overtime. So it's like I got a bunch of Bagley, a bunch of Fox. Fox plays 1 minute and 58 seconds. Bagley goes out after, I think, 18 minutes. So they're both hurt. Oh, and Antonio Brown, I'm going to catch you up, is working out for the Saints today. Yeah, you missed a lot.
What universe did I wake up in? So the Warriors are beating the Rockets. An actual NFL team with real aspirations are working out a crazy person. Fantastic. Cool.
Yep.
Cool.
It is really something else.
Who needs a running back? What's Ray Rice up to?
Yep, I know. Someone said he had 6 fantasy points in a minute. Yeah, he had 6 fantasy points in 1 minute and 58 seconds. So he was
let me guess.
Right,
OJ Simpson's going to be the next coach of USC. You have certainly missed a lot. And I'm sure there's plenty that I can't think of that happened that you also missed, but you're here now. We've got you up to speed, and we're ready to rock. Well, there are some things that I missed, like the 600K Thursday fadeaway on DraftKings yesterday, $15 to enter. Nilknarf, which who the hell knows if I just said that correctly, took down $100,000.
I see him. I've been seeing him up there a lot. Like not recently, but that's a name that is it the one that's in all caps?
It is. No, it's the other Nilknarf with it all in lowercase.
I'm saying I don't know if that's if I'm thinking of the same person, if it's in all caps. But
one of the side effects on the flu meds is supposed to be hallucination. So usually the first 15 to 20 minutes of this gets really squirrely. We're in for it. Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Good hallucinations or frightening hallucinations, or just.
I think it's kind of like the trying to stay awake when you're on Ambien type stuff.
Oh, I used to see shadow people.
I think those are just called shadows, man.
What?
I think that's just called seeing shadows. I see those things all the time. When the light shines this way, it's over here.
Yeah. Well, it was scary. I once Should I tell this story? It's very short.
Let's knock yourself out, man. Well, it's either that or we talk about Nooknarf.
You know how they talk about, like on Ambien, there's reports of sleep driving?
Yes.
I did that to a bar. And I got, here's the best part. You know the Irish car bombs?
Well aware.
Okay. I order an Irish car bomb. I chug the beer and take the shot. That's how so beer all over me. Didn't drop the shot, just chugged it. And now I have a faint memory of people looking at me strange. I think I went there in sweatpants and a sweatshirt, got up out of bed at like 12 o'clock, somehow found my keys and drove to the local bar. Needless to say, haven't taken any Ambien after that.
See that? Well, yeah, that's pretty dangerous. That's pretty dangerous.
Nah, just a bit. I mean, I wouldn't say I was responsible though.
No, not so much. That's worse than my father-in-law's sleepwalking stories. He does it from time to time. I think I told this on the air about a year ago. And then we'll actually get into everything legit. But you know what? You and I haven't talked in a while. We kind of need to work some stuff.
Yeah, you got to catch up.
Yeah. So my father-in-law gets up constantly and sleep eats. But one night, at some point in time, he ended up in the kitchen, went back to bed, woke up the next morning, and he had a fully wrapped in cellophane oatmeal cream pie in his underwear. I guess he, tucked
That's
it
good.
into the waistband to like take it back to bed with him, but it just stayed there.
That is insane.
Yeah.
Oatmeal cream pies are pretty delicious too.
And in case anybody is curious, he absolutely ate that when he realized he had it.
I would have. Would you not have?
Not even. No doubt in my mind. If it were out of the wrapper, I probably would have skipped it. But
that's totally different scenario. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, would you have eaten it if you discovered it in his pants? In the wrapper, double wrapped, and you're drunk?
Yes.
Okay, that's all it took. That's all it took.
Yeah. I mean, it was like 70-30 yes without the booze. Elfrid Payton was the chalk yesterday. I'm going to learn a little bit about yesterday's slate. 5.6x. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander second, 4.8x. De'Aaron Fox, third most owned guy, 6.25 fantasy points. It's actually not that bad for a minimal run.
He was averaging 3 points per minute. Pretty solid.
Not a great day for chalk. Huh.
Yeah, Andre Drummond definitely struggled.
Whiteside,
keep in mind, who?
Whiteside
was horrible, man. Horrible. The Anthony Marcus says, I faded the F out of Drummond. A lot of so-called experts were saying you can't fade him last night in chat. This is DFS. You can fade anyone. You never know what can happen. And you can always fade somebody, but I think it's worth keeping in mind that they won by 30 points and Andre Drummond played 24 minutes when he usually plays 36.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we're going to be intellectually honest about this, let's at least keep that in mind,
It's not, I don't have the energy to get into that sort of like debate, but he
still averaged 1.25 fantasy points per minute. It wasn't going to be a great game from Drummond.
Right.
But let's not pretend that the 24 minutes that he played, with 30 fantasy points across 36, 37 minutes in a close game, which he's played, doesn't look entirely different. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it's in the shortest way possible. Whether or not you should have faded Drummond, and this is going to sound so stupid, but the people that get it are the ones that should get it. Whether or not you should have faded Drummond has absolutely nothing to do with how he ends up playing.
Correct. Against Jan Mahinmi, Jonathan Williams, and Pasechniks. Those were your centers.
Let's also add that he was 29.8% owned in this situation.
Yeah.
I
actually came in underweight. I came in underweight on Drummond, but I felt horrible about it. It wasn't like, this is great. It was just that the value, like I didn't want to go Mikhailuk. Like I didn't want a bunch of Mikhailuk in my lineups and a bunch of other really terrible punts. And it ended up with me going more balanced. Didn't work out, But yeah, I mean, you played 24 minutes in a game where you weren't needed. You know,
Alex had half the field. That guy's a genius.
Yeah, how about that? I think he was also in foul trouble.
Doesn't sound like anything went right for him. Take a look at old Nilknarf's lineup.
He wasn't in foul trouble, by the way. Oh, no, wait. I think he had 4. I don't know, but I thought he did. He did. He had 4 5 minutes into the third quarter, Josh.
That'll do it. Nilknarf went with Elfrid Payton, CJ McCollum, Robert Covington, Rashon Holmes, who went for 56. Whew. Gorgeous Dong, Chris Paul, Jingles, Donovan Mitchell. It's a hell of a lineup.
Yeah. Wow.
Gorgeous Dong going for 48. Gorgeous Dong, thank you very much for the 10K, by the way.
Huge game from Corgi Jang.
Yeah. I don't have much else to touch on here. I wish I had more to talk about for this slate. I'm incredibly unfamiliar with it. Highest scorer on the slate, Rashon Holmes at 56. Welcome back, Luka Doncic, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Career high rebounds for Rashon Holmes, by the way.
And that number was?
18.
He was in 0.7% of Alex's lineups, a.k.a. 1. Not going to help. But having 57% Chris Paul as the third highest leading scorer, that'll help.
Yeah, I mean, Danilo Gallinari was out, so that had a lot to do with it.
He's going to be out for a couple days, correct?
Yep, I think 3 games minimum.
Gotcha. Well, what I think everybody should do right now, going out on a limb, is check out the link that I'm about to drop into chat. This link takes you to Emacs Cash Building Blocks article. Read it. It'll make you better at DFS for sure. And then follow the link at the bottom to sign up at our presenting sponsor, Yahoo Sports. Use the promo code AWESEMO for $30 in YSRPs. Those are Yahoo Sports rewards points. They've got, a lot of 10 max contests, still have some 150 maxes. You're going to pay less management fees than you do in the rest of the industry. You're going to find softer competition. It should be easier for you to make a couple bucks back because that's really the goal. Trying to keep as much money in your account as you possibly can. And Yahoo's going to make it a little bit easier for you. So please go check them out. They are the presenting sponsor of this show and have been for the better part of a year at least now, right? Been Yahoo for a hot minute. Couldn't be happier to have them. So please go check out their content and check out Emacs Cash Building Blocks article, which I just dropped into chat right now. Let me double check to see if we've got ownership yet. Not Tom, if you're listening, that's the prompt. We could talk a little basketball, right? Ooh.
I would like to talk some basketball, yes.
I said right a little bit too hard there. That hurt like hell. Apparently that's where the wherever the R sound comes from. That's where it hurts.
Right. I don't feel it. Right.
Yeah, I feel it. Right here.
Well, you just said right again.
Yeah, I know, and it hurt again.
Describing saying right, which hurt you before.
And unfortunately, 2 of these guys have pronounced R's in their names. This isn't going to be fun. Devonte Graham, that one's fine. Rozier, no, that one's fine too. It's pretty soft. Hornets and Thunder, 103 implied total for the Hornets, 107.5 for the Thunder.
What about Rick Ross?
Oh, that's my Rick Ross grunt.
That's good. Solid.
It hurt. Hornets are 4.5-point underdogs at home against the Thunder. I should be getting PJ Washington back. This is pretty much like it always is for me for the Hornets. I will have interest in Devonte Graham, 7,400 on FanDuel, 7,500 on DraftKings. I'll have some interest in Terry Rozier, 6,800 and 6,500 respectively. And then I think PJ Washington has been underpriced on FanDuel. I expect him to come back and play his normal allotment of minutes. He's $5,200 on FanDuel, $1,200 less expensive than he is on DraftKings. What stands out to you from the Hornets here against Oklahoma City?
Yeah, this rotation's really difficult to figure out. I mean, like we had spots where, Zeller was playing alongside Biyombo, and then Marvin Williams comes back. He's healthy. His minutes have been all over the place, but 25, 29, 25, then 19. Factor a blowout in there. How about Myles Bridges? His minutes have been wild as well. Like I honestly have no idea what to do with him. He was playing 38 a game, 36, 38, then 21 twice, then 26, then 32. So that's weird. Nicholas Batum was out for a while, so that had something to do with it. He's been catching DNP-CDs, and then he goes ahead and plays 30 minutes. Okay, cool. So what I'm getting at is there's really only two guys that you can actually rely on to get consistent big minutes every time out. One of them is Devonte Graham, and we can talk about him in the context of the slate in a minute, but Devonte Graham is going to get 38 minutes in a close game. We've seen it happen consistently. At this point, there's no reason to believe that he won't. And they're 4.5-point dogs against the Thunder team playing their second of a back-to-back. And then there's Terry Rozier, who is also going to play upwards of 38 minutes in a close game. Once you get past those guys, you're really just throwing darts with your eyes closed. Now that PJ Washington's expected to return, that's going to throw a wrench into the works in the front court. And then the wing positions will get mixed up even more. So who knows? Maybe it'll be Dwayne Bacon or Kid Gilchrist or Cody Martin or Malik Monk, or Bridges or Washington. I don't know. What I know is that Graham and Rozier are going to continue to get significant minutes against the Thunder. The problem is with Gallinari out on the other side, and we'll talk about D'Angelo Russell and Devin Booker in that late game, it's going to be a little bit difficult to prioritize Graham, even though he's not expensive.
We're on the same page. They grade out as perfectly acceptable plays to me. Guys that would be, your classic, like, especially on a slate like this, 20%-ish owned, which is where the field will have them, which is just kind of blah. They're filler. Although I do think Graham on FanDuel looks a little different, but again, you mentioned it. Devin Booker stands out a little bit more, at least on FanDuel. $500 cheaper. Devin Booker, $6,900 shooting guard. Craziness.
I know. And let's be fair, he's been pretty bad with Ricky Rubio in the mix.
He has.
Or at least underwhelming.
He's been not as good from a fantasy perspective.
Right, but that's all that matters, right?
Yes. He has been a bit of a disappointment. Yeah. For me, it's a 3-man pool from the Hornets. Graham, Rozier, and Washington, and that's on FanDuel. PJ Washington for $6,400 on DraftKings does nothing to get me excited.
Nope, not at all.
On the Oklahoma City side, I really expected this one to jump off the page more with Gallo out. Didn't get that yet. Definitely going to have to dig into the numbers a little bit more. I see guys that I will have a lot of, or I see a lot of guys that I will have, but not necessarily a guy that I will have a lot of. Chris Paul looks fine, 7,300 on both sites. Steven Adams, I think, is a little bit more appealing on FanDuel than he is on DraftKings, 6,400. Shea at 7K is a guy that I end up with pretty regularly. Schroeder, $200 cheaper on FanDuel right now than he is on DraftKings. I think that looks pretty nice. Darius Bazley is 3,700 on FanDuel. Makes for a potentially viable punt option, getting in the mid to high 20s in minutes. Who's the guy that stands out most to you from the Thunder?
So the Danilo Gallinari being out is like huge. So yesterday, Schroeder, Gilgeous-Alexander, and Paul played 10 minutes alongside each other. To mostly in the third quarter and the fourth quarter to close out the game. I would expect to see something similar to that today. And that's important because there were people asking about Darius Bazley. Not only is Bazley bad, and this isn't hindsight, Adam and I discussed this on the deeper dive. Not only is he bad, but you couldn't rely on him to get considerable minutes in all seriousness, knowing that there's no reason that you can't run Paul Schroeder and Gilgeous-Alexander out there together because we've seen it happen before. They played 200 minutes with each other this season. And obviously if Gallinari's out, that number would have been a lot higher. I think Chris Paul is a very fine play. He's still priced reasonably. He's $7,300 on DraftKings. I have no issue with that at all. $7,300 on FanDuel. Also have no issue with that. And $30 on Yahoo. You look at Gilgeous-Alexander, 27 on Yahoo. On FanDuel, he's coming in at what?
7K.
7K. Also not bad. And then 68 on DraftKings. I don't want to play any more than 2 of these guys together in the same lineup, but I don't have an issue really with any of them. My guess is Schroeder's ownership comes in relatively low, but he's going to play 32 to 34 minutes again. And all of them are going to get huge minutes. Chris Paul played 34 yesterday. SGA led the team or led the guards with 37. If the minutes are there, I'm on board. And look, this is a Charlotte team that might not play at a brisk pace, but they're also just not a good basketball team. Defensively, they have struggled considerably this season. So I like it. Like, again, they play at a very slow pace, but they also have a bottom 5 defensive rating on the season. And I think OKC, despite playing their second of a back-to-back, this one on the road, those price tags on the guards are really nice.
Would you rather have Devonte Graham or anyone on Oklahoma City?
I'd rather have Devonte Graham over Schroeder and probably over SGA. It's kind of tough because the Oklahoma City Thunder are a decent enough defensive team, but they're not really great. I think they're middle of the road this year. This game has a 210 over under too. So it's pretty unappealing from a Vegas standpoint. But yeah, Devonte Graham I think if we're just talking about ceiling here, Josh, you're probably not getting that with Schroeder or with SGA to the point where you'd get it with Graham. Now he's a little bit more expensive than them, but I think, if one of these guys were to go off and rip 55, 60 fantasy points, he'd be the one to do it, or Chris Paul. So I would take Paul over Graham over the other 2.
Okay. Just to put it all in perspective for me, I would take Graham over everybody on Oklahoma City. That's on DraftKings. Same scenario on FanDuel. I would also take Terry Rozier over everyone on Oklahoma City. Although on FanDuel, I would be willing to go to Paul.
That's definitely interesting to me. So here's the thing with Danilo Gallinari off the floor this year, we've seen pretty significant movement in per minute production. Like SGA with Gallo off the floor, his per minute production goes from 0.89 to 1.11. His usage goes from 23% to 28.2%. Sorry, from 0.89 to 1.1, and usage goes from 23 to 28.2. Dennis Schroeder in 511 minutes with no Gallo has a 31% usage rate, 1.11 fantasy points per minute. Chris Paul's at 1.18 on 20% usage. So you put Gallo on the court, and a lot of that changes. I mean, just look at some of these numbers. Chris Paul's usage, I don't think is going to change much at all. But from a per minute standpoint, he's down quite a bit. SGA's at 0.89. Dennis Schroeder is at 0.93. So there is significant movement there. And I think Gallo being out actually affects them a lot. And it hasn't been baked into their prices at all.
You mean Darius Bazley doesn't come in and just soak up all the usage?
I know. I was really surprised. Yeah, I thought LeGuent's Dort was going to make a surprise cameo.
Your boy. It's your boy. Yeah, I don't
Lagwin's
guess
Dort.
Yeah, lug nuts.
He's played 18 minutes without Gallo this season, 0.44 fantasy points per minute.
That's higher than where Terrence Ferguson's been in his last 30 days.
Yeah, and he could be the only one on the court.
0.34 FanDuel points per minute over the last 30 days for old Ferg. Let me cough.
Yeah, that fella stinks.
Yeah, he does. Coughed all over Dennis Rodman. Got a Dennis Rodman shirt.
Oh, would you look at that?
Merry
Was
Christmas.
that made in North Korea?
I'd wear it if it was.
Well, apparently he is like best friends with Kim Jong-un. Like they're boys, man, trying to bring peace.
That's probably a really good idea, right?
No, I've seen not at all. His brain is made of jello.
What I mean is, like, nobody from the United States is like, yeah, we got to calm down Dennis Rodman. It's just like, just let Dennis Rodman do whatever he's doing.
Oh, no question.
And meanwhile, Rodman's like, if this guy ends up being totally crazy, I could stay alive.
Yeah, but at the same time, Kim Jong-un's like, I thought they were sending Jordan. Or at least Pippen.
Gigantic BJ Armstrong fan. I just picture him being like from the Seth Rogen movie, and he's just actually that sort of character the entire time.
That was a great movie, by the way.
We watched it on Christmas with my parents like 5 years ago or whenever, like the day it came out.
Did you?
Yeah, hysterical.
Bad Santa to me is the greatest Christmas movie ever.
That is the Christmas movie that we watch.
Oh, me too. It is phenomenal. I would suggest good family friendly fun. Sit down around the tree and the TV with your young ones or your loved ones and watch some Bad Santa.
Just be prepared to mute it from time to time.
Oh, well, I was joking, right?
Well, I think a lot of it's good.
I mean, it is. I don't think it is. MTV the other day actually had a family or a censored version of it. There were no words. There were no words. It is such a good movie though, man. And you know why it's so good? Because it's crass. It's everything about it is vulgar, but you fall in love with Thurman Merman. You fall in love with that kid throughout the movie, and the bond that they create is incredible. So yeah,
it really wasn't a part of my life until I met my wife, and then it just became everything.
Oh, it is. What, did someone drop you on your head? On my head? No, on someone else's head. How could someone drop me on my own head? God damn it, kid. Are you fucking with me?
Oh, man. Sorry, Tom.
Yeah, that probably went a little far.
Look, it's the Christmas season. Orlando Magic and your Philadelphia 76ers, fresh off thumping of the Milwaukee Bucks. The Milwaukee Doe, I guess. Yeah, I did it.
Oh, yeah.
Sixers.
Well, blame it on the flu.
Sixers are 2.5-point favorites in Orlando. We've got very little to talk about from the Orlando Magic. No MCW, which I know that's going to break the hearts of a lot of people. You were thinking MCW revenge narrative. Sorry, guys, not going to be today. Vooch, 7,900 on FanDuel, 7,700 on DK. John Isaac, 6,200 on FanDuel, 6K on DraftKings. That's pretty much it for me coming from Orlando. This is a team that is really just unappealing to roster from a DFS perspective, unless you get one of the key wing ball handler guys out and you can get Terrence Ross to step up into like the 28, 29 minute mark, or like if Fournier ends up out and you can get someone to end up having to play in those high 20s, because as of right now, they're all priced where they should be and they're all not very good from a DFS perspective.
Agreed. By the way, Samurai Warrior Steven Adams, I think is fine here. I could see him getting around 30 minutes.
Well, I guess we do have Fultz revenge.
Oh, stop it. But you know what? It's funny you say that. If this game was in Philly, I think Markelle Fultz would fold like a piece of paper. I remember that show Scared Straight on A&E?
Yes.
No. Well, anyway, I'll fold you like a piece of paper. But Markelle Fultz, Markelle Fultz coming back to Philly, which is not happening today. And I believe so. They've played each other this season. This is the second time they face each other, and both of them were in Orlando. I just don't think Fultz is. I know you weren't being serious, but I have no interest in Markelle Fultz here. I'm not trying to get 27, 28 minutes of a sub 1 fantasy point per minute guy against a Ben Simmons, Josh Richardson backcourt. Like, that does nothing for me. And quite frankly, this game is highly unappealing from a DFS standpoint. Lowest total on the slate at 209.5. I do think Vooch is interesting, and not for the reason Emac points out in chat. He says it's a Vooch remember me game. I would like to respond to that, Emac, with hold on a second, Josh.
It's amazing to think about how many centers the Sixers have had since Vooch.
Oh yeah. So Nikola Vucevic has played, probably 35 games against the Sixers.
You know what would be a fun prop to be able to bet on?
Huh?
Who has the longest shot between Fultz and Simmons in the game?
25 games, by the way. The longest shot.
Yeah, like
who attempts?
Yeah,
well, Fultz is it would be Fultz, right? It would have to be.
You would think
he's at least attempting. He's at least attempted 47 threes on the season.
Has he really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, then just let me shut up then.
He's made a sterling 12 out of 47.
Hey, we all can't be 2 for 2 like Ben Simmons.
No, I know this whole thing of like,
I didn't realize he shot 47.
Markelle Fultz is reinventing himself in Orlando. Would you look at this? It's a real success story. The prior number 1 overall pick flames out in Philadelphia, booed off the court by the fans. By the way, the fans were amazing to Markelle Fultz there, and they shouldn't have been. He's in Orlando, and boy, does he look great. It's a revolution. No, it's not. He's just on a not so great team, and he's getting some opportunity. But like, you cannot argue that Markelle Fultz has been even close to the number 1 overall pick that he was. That he has not lived up to the billing. But yeah, I think Vooch is fine. Like guys like Jonathan Isaac are cheap, Josh. So there's that. But the only reason I would have interest in any of these players on Orlando is because their price tags are down. And I guess that is I guess the matchup's baked into it on DraftKings, but that's the only reason. If Vooch was 85, if Isaac was 67, I'd have zero interest.
Yeah, those are the only 2 guys that I see as even viable. I never would have thought that like Aaron Gordon would be 6,200 on FanDuel on a 5-game slate, and I'd be like, yeah, I don't even think that he'll make my player pool.
No,
that's just where we're at now. The state of DFS. On the Philly side, it's kind of just business as usual. You know who you can roster and you know who you can't. There's 5 options here, barely. And the only one that really looks appealing to me in any sort of major way is $9,500 on FanDuel, Joel Embiid.
I think Embiid here is probably going to be under-owned. Now, do we have ownership?
Good question.
We do. 2 minutes ago, we got the update. Let me see where Embiid's coming in, Josh, because I mentioned yesterday, I thought on the early bird that Embiid could come in at low ownership. Right now, 8.6%. See, to me, that's just egregiously low, but I expected it because it's Orlando, low scoring game. Orlando defensively has been okay this season. However, they've actually been worse. I think they're like 18th or 19th over the last month. Joel Embiid, on a per minute basis, if you're just taking DraftKings, has been, if just don't look at the game logs, on a per minute basis, he's a 1.6 fantasy point per minute guy, okay, on the season. And he lost minutes, 4 or 5 minutes in a blowout last game, 4 or 5 minutes in a blowout the game before that, some minutes in a blowout against Washington. Joel Embiid is playing in competitive games, 33 to 35 minutes. At times you'll see like 31, so it's possible. But that one of them was foul trouble. Another one, it was I don't know what happened, but all in all, he could get you 33, 34 minutes at 9,700. I don't really care what the matchup is. You can't be too concerned about Vucevic and Isaac. Isaac's very good, but he's not. I don't know how you can't put him on Embiid. 9,700 to me is just very, very cheap. Yeah. And 8% ownership on a 5-game slate to me seems crazy. 9,500 on FanDuel. Come on.
No brainer there, as far as I'm concerned. The only real issue with going to him on FanDuel today is that there aren't any other real pay-up options. Like Vooch is at 79, and then you're all the way down to Steven Adams. Got to get to Aron Baynes, who is going to look pretty tasty at 4,100.
Yeah.
So that would really be the only other decision to be making. Here's how crazy it is right now. Damn, fucking throat. Embiid, Vooch, Adams, Willie Cauley-Stein, Brook Lopez. 11, 14, 14, 10, and 12 on FanDuel. People are just casting a wide net. If that's the case, I would just like to cast my entire net on Joel Embiid.
I'm with you. 100%. I'm with you.
That's a pretty big net. Joel Embiid's a big dude.
Yeah. I just, if you're coming in at that low of ownership and could easily drop, if Embiid dropped 67 fantasy points, you wouldn't bat an eye.
No, not at all. Not at all.
That's where I'm at. The rest of Philly, honestly, not very interested. I'm sure we'll get some questions about Al Horford. I don't really care that Al Horford's cheap. I know he plays some of his minutes with Embiid off the floor, but there's nothing about him that stands out to me as some like what's a ceiling game from Horford at this point. Right. That's kind of how I feel about a lot of these guys. And while Ben Simmons has produced 2 monster games in a row against Detroit and a tough Milwaukee team, he's still only getting up, 14, 15 shots at the most. Usually he's taking 10 shots per game. At that price point, like I'd rather just go down to D'Angelo Russell, and a couple of other guys that are $1,000 cheaper.
Yeah, we've got Simmons double digits on FanDuel. Harris and Horford both around 20% across both sites. They're numbers that surprise me a bit. It's not places that I want to be. If we circle back to Orlando, Vooch in double digits, mid-teens. Fultz and Augustine both on FanDuel in the mid-teens. Did we short sell DJ Augustine picking up a couple extra minutes and being a value for 4K? I still don't see it. So
there is one thing, now that you mention it, that I do find a little interesting. If you look at play type data this year, DJ Augustine is, I think, first in the entire league in pick and roll frequency. Now he's not playing as many minutes as someone like Trae Young, who's up there as well. But he has been very, 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 very frequently or oft used in pick and roll situations, which is kind of interesting because the Philadelphia 76ers have not been good at all at defending the pick and roll. You've seen them this season allowing some of the most points in the pick and roll, despite not even playing it at that elevated of a pace. And that would be, if I were to make one argument for DJ Augustine, I'd say the Philadelphia 76ers have really struggled to defend the pick and roll this season. The problem is it's DJ Augustine. It's not Trae Young. It's DJ Augustine.
It's very true. Circling back to the Hornets in Oklahoma City for 1 second. Graham and Rozier in the teens on both sites. PJ Washington teens on FanDuel. Oklahoma City. Chris Paul is 40% owned on FanDuel. That surprise you at all?
Who is it? I'm sorry.
Chris Paul.
What did you say?
40% owned on FanDuel right now.
A little surprising, yeah, but I would have expected him to be popular.
Okay. Then we get Adams, SGA, Schroeder, Noel, Baisley, all in like the 10 to 15% range. That's sort of where I feel everybody is right now. For me, that 40% number feels really high for Paul, but admittedly, I'm going to dig in a little bit further, see what the public's seeing, because 40% is a big number and it makes me feel like I'm missing something. I still agree.
Well, I've mentioned to you that I like him.
Sure.
I think I like him a little bit more than you do. Sure, it's a back-to-back. It's on the road, but the Hornets are a bad basketball team, and Gallinari being off the court definitely makes a big difference. He's not like a high upside player, but he's still someone that's going to soak up a good amount of usage and play 30-plus minutes per game. And then it gives all of those 3 guards an opportunity to get a little bit more playing time each game, because you're going to see 10 to 12 minutes with them alongside each other.
Want to hit Hawks Bucks?
Let's do it. Trae Young's price is wild.
Yeah, Coach Bud revenge narrative, I guess, right?
Yeah, one big time revenge. I'm sure he's devastated.
It's probably terrible for him. 113 implied total for Atlanta, 124.5 for the Bucks. 11.5 point favorites in Atlanta. Hawks are not very good, but they do have John Collins back. Trae Young is 10-4 on FanDuel, 10-8 on DraftKings. John Collins is 8,100 on FanDuel, 7,600 on DraftKings. Kevin Herter playing big minutes, 5,300 and 5,200. All three of those guys are getting ownership in some sort of way. Trae Young at 28% on FanDuel. John Collins around 30 on both sites. Kevin Herter in the teens. I like all three of those guys, but I mean, it's just really, really difficult to try to project out games both for the Bucks and against the Bucks.
Yeah. So C-Wiki says, Lavi, it's time to pass along the easier way to view lineups in lineup study to Josh Engelman via Manny Laura. What he means by that is I was scrolling. I would in lineup study, I would look at the lineups and scroll from left to right to see the lineup. But there's those three little dots there that if you click them, the whole lineup just pops up in a pop-up like it's on Fantasy Cruncher.
Wait, what?
Okay. You know how if you're looking at a lineup on lineup study and you'll like scroll from left to right to see, point guards, shooting guards.
Right.
On each person, there's a little three lines that you can click on their name and the actual lineup will just pop up on the screen like it would on Fantasy Cruncher.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I had no idea. Manny told me. Manny was actually watching the stream when we did it, like on Monday. And he's like, there's an easier way. I said, I did not know there was an easier way. If I'd known there was an easier way, I'd be doing it the easier way. Did you just try it?
Yeah.
Pretty cool, right?
Yeah.
Thanks, C-Wiki. Yeah, I know. How about that?
That is not like the first time that has happened, and it probably won't be the last. There's constantly times where I'm just finding out new stuff.
Oh, well, if it wasn't for Manny, I'd be in trouble with lineup study. But yeah, they got a bunch of crazy stuff on there. Anyway, did you say Milwaukee's a tough team to diagnose right now?
Yes.
Totally agree. I'll say this much though. Giannis at 11-3 on DraftKings. I know you and I and a lot of us have shared different opinions on this, but to me, 11-3, I just don't care. Like I'm not going to project this game to be a blowout, so I don't get any Giannis Antetokounmpo. Like I'm not okay with that. If I give him 32 minutes, that's all I would need. We've seen crazier things happen. I mean, not long ago, a lot of these games, they just lost to Dallas without Luka Doncic. Orlando, they beat him by 9. Memphis, they beat him by 13. Like, not every game is going to be a blowout. They're a very good team. They're the best in the league, but I'm not projecting it to be that way. And Giannis at that price is just insanely inexpensive in a game that has, you ready for this? A 238 over under. It's almost 15 points higher than the next closest total on this slate. So Giannis right now projected for a lot of ownership. In my opinion, he absolutely should be across the board because his price point in this specific spot against Atlanta, if this game stays close, you could see 90 fantasy points from Giannis and it wouldn't be a surprise.
Yeah, that's the biggest issue here. We're projecting him for 51% ownership on FanDuel today and 33% on DraftKings.
Yeah, I hear you, but at that price point, what's the worst that can happen? Like, how much worse can he really do than Trae Young? Or I know Joel Embiid is cheaper by a decent amount, but like, how bad can it really go in this spot for Giannis?
I don't even think it can go. I mean, barring getting the old thumb to the eye again, like it's some wrestling match.
Right. Well, that's all I'm saying. I agree that it's a little disconcerting that his ownership is there, but he's 11-3 on DraftKings. We're talking about what, almost 2 fantasy points per minute.
Yeah, he's the clear-cut best play today, right?
Yeah, on DraftKings this season, he is literally averaging 1.96 fantasy points per minute.
Yeah, it's
clear-cut top play, in my opinion, at least.
And the problem is, this game could be over at the end of the first quarter.
It could, but I'm willing to take that risk.
Oh yeah, look, I'm gonna have him. He grades out really well. I think a lot of things grade out really well. How many minutes do you have Brook Lopez for?
Brook Lopez 27, but I don't know what to do about him. Like he's another one where his minutes have been all over the place, but I guess you ask because he's played 33, 27, 27, and 33.
I have him in for 28 minutes right now.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
49. He's 4,900 on FanDuel.
I might bump him up one or two. It would make sense.
Like it's right now, Brook Lopez stands out as the best value in this game for me, at least on FanDuel. And that makes me feel super uncomfortable.
Yeah. I think he's fine. I mean,
a little bit less enthused for 5,200 on DraftKings, that's for sure.
You know what? Here's what I like about him. Here's what I like. You at least want, when you're going to pay this much for a guy, like, you want to know that there is some upside. Well, in terms of minutes upside, we've seen that Brook Lopez can play 33 minutes because he's done it twice in his last 4 games. So if you're projecting him for 28, fine. But if he plays 32, then that just makes it that much more appealing.
Yeah. Can you imagine if this game stays close, how the starters look?
I know. That's the crazy part. And that's why, like, I can't just get away from it. The Bucks have a 124.3 implied total. 124.3. It's absurd. So there's just too much to like here. And across the board, I think Middleton is fine. He's not a priority to me, but he's fine. And he's played 30 plus minutes and in each of his last 2 games. That's encouraging. I think he probably had his best game of the season against the Sixers. May have taken him a little while to round in the form, but a lot of that's just because the blowouts. You're not getting the full run. But yeah, Brook Lopez, the minutes should be there. Giannis Antetokounmpo, to me, just I can't get away from that at his current price point. And then, when it comes to guys like DiVincenzo, George Hill, and really anybody else, those are just shot in the dark type options where George Hill might play 26 minutes. He might have a decent game, but I have no idea if he or DiVincenzo are going to. I don't know. I have no idea what you're going to get from those guys.
I gave DiVincenzo 26 minutes, which makes him
me too.
Problematic on FanDuel at 4,900. Gave George Hill 24. I mean, I have 11 guys in their rotation. I never know what to do with these guys. They're the most difficult team to project because they're like the most unique NBA regular season team in a really long time.
They certainly are, because they have like the most unique player that we've seen in a very long time. The thing about DiVincenzo is with Giannis on the floor and Bledsoe off, DiVincenzo 0.91 fantasy points per minute. Not terrible. 14% usage though, which is pretty underwhelming. 14% assist rate, 11% rebounding rate, and that seems a bit inflated in 239 minutes. So I guess the one issue I would have here is those per minute numbers seem a little bit strange given the fact that you have a 14% usage rate and 14% assist rate.
That's a big number.
DiVincenzo, if there's one thing he's really good at, he gets his hands in passing lanes and breaks up a lot of passes and gets steals. I went over those numbers with you maybe like a month or so ago that really stood out to me. A lot of that, does it actually have, is it a predictive factor? Not really, but he is racking up, he's giving you some points in the steals category each day. I just don't know if that's enough.
He's a guy that projects really well for me all the time, and I hate it. I have to be like really cognizant of where I set his minutes and when I run my crunches, because for some reason, for him in particular, I guess it's just probably the price tier that he is in, every minute seems to have a much more large impact on whether or not he's showing up or not.
No question.
Right? He can go from, if I have him in at 24, I have none. 25 minutes, I get like 10%. If I get him to 26, I end up with 60. It's just
yes.
Okay. Well, let's,
Yeah, and that's just not okay.
Then I have to start projecting Dante DiVincenzo for like seconds played. I got him in for 24 minutes and 12 seconds.
Right.
It's the only way that I can keep him out of all of my lineups.
I know. It's crazy.
I'm going to have a lot of this game, and that is one of the more uncomfortable things you can do because it feels predictable in that the Bucks just beat the shit out of them because that's what they do. And you can only imagine, like, I don't believe in this type of stuff. You can only imagine that they're not exactly happy coming out of Philly. And they're like, oh, cool. We're going to get right on the Hawks.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I don't think I'm not as worried about it as you are in terms of, like, even if they blow them out, I think you could still get a lot of these guys to go where they need to. You know, I do. Both teams play at an elevated pace. The Atlanta Hawks defensively are far from spectacular. There's just nothing about this game outside. Yes, there's blowout risk. I get it, but it's not enough to get me off a team that ranks or that faces an Atlanta team that ranks 28th in defensive rating and 8th in pace. Well, actually 7th in pace this season. It's as good as it gets, man. It is all, well, unless it's the Wizards, but the Wizards are so bad right now that I would be legitimately concerned about a blowout there. This game, yeah, they're 11.5-point home dogs, but you have John Collins back, so you get some reinforcement there. Trae Young is still a very good player, and the Bucks have actually struggled at allowing pick and roll ball handlers to score in the pick and roll. Trae Young is one of the highest frequency pick and roll guys in the league this year. So oddly enough, it's not a terrible spot for Trae Young. There's just no way I can pay for him there when Giannis is so closely priced to him.
We got the question, which center for the Hawks do you like with Len doubtful? If we're not including John Collins in that, which I don't think we are because he is very clearly fantastic, it's neither of them, right? I'm not looking to get to Jones or Fernando.
Yeah, do you think Len gets minutes, or do you think Collins is going to play at the 5?
I would imagine.
So looking at this now,
I guess that's not how I projected it like that.
I'm looking at it now. Last game where all of them were active, right here. Okay, so right here, Collins in the first quarter alone played almost 5 minutes at center. And then in the second quarter, he played, oh yeah, look at that. In the second quarter, he played another 2 minutes at center. So that's 6 just in the first half alone. Yeah, and then look at this. 4 minutes again at the 5. Oh yeah, dude, he's gonna play minutes at the 5. Yeah. Would I be surprised if it goes, 18 minutes to, I don't know, Bruno Fernando, and Damian Jones ends up playing 15 minutes, and Collins plays a bunch at the 5, and DeAndre Hunter just plays a bunch at the 4. No, I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
I gave Collins 22 at the 5. That might be lofty, but I think that's probably their goal.
I don't think it's crazy, but that means that you're giving Fernando and Jones like a combined 26 minutes.
Correct.
Okay.
It's not crazy. I don't know. Like, for them to win, that's probably what they need.
And look, Collins came back and promptly played 35 minutes in that return from the 25-game suspension. So Lloyd Pierce, you're not putting the brakes on at all. He was suspended. He wasn't injured. He came back, threw up a big game. You know what else is interesting about him? I had to correct myself on the early bird because I hadn't been paying attention to this since he'd been out for so long. John Collins, in his rookie season, attempted 0.6 threes per game. Last year, he attempted 2.6 threes per game, made 34% of them, 34% in his rookie season too. This year, I know he's only played 6 games. He's attempting 4 threes per game, and he's knocking down 46% of them. So
who would have thought needles in the bum made you shoot more threes?
That's a valid point. But I'll do you one better here. When you look at Milwaukee, I find this very interesting. They are allowing the lowest field goal percentage to opponents on the season, and they're allowing the 7th highest 3-point percentage. So teams can knock down threes against them. Teams can score in the pick and roll against them, and then they pretty much slow him down in every other category. I like John Collins quite a bit today.
Yeah.
I mentioned the Stratford on the early bird. I like him over Domantas Sabonis, who is $500 more expensive on FanDuel.
Got speaking of Dan Stratford, came into YouTube chat with the comment, "Needles in the Bum Bum was my hip hop name in college."
I'm not surprised.
Good old Needles in the Bum Bum.
Yeah. Nice.
Should have kept it. I wonder if @Needles in the Bum Bum is taken on Twitter. I'm gonna have to get my hands on that. That could be my rap name for all of the sick beats that I drop in between our shows.
That's awesome.
Speaking of things in between, this is what we would like to call a mild commercial break. Here's what we've got coming up later today. Perfect time for you guys to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Coming up immediately after this, NFL Strategy Show. The final Week 17 lineup construction show. Chris Randone, Manny Laura. I believe Osimo Odds is happening at noon with Ben Rasa, Nolan Kelly, and Jordan Frank. We also have the Yahoo Strategy Show. No Boss Man today. No Alex, so it's going to be Nolan and Ben doing that one. No hockey, I guess. So, as much as I know you guys love Jake, no Jake today. No snack. We got the deeper dive coming up at 5 p.m. tonight, and then myself and Chris Spags from 6 until lock. Should be a good time. It's going to be good to be back doing a live before lock. I'm going to play today for the first time since last Friday, right? Yeah.
It's
exciting. Good to be back in the old DFS space. I miss it. I got all this I haven't had any coffee since the weekend. I haven't had really DFS since the week. I gave up all my vices. It was terrible. Literally all of them, even the ones that I shouldn't talk about on air right now. No vices.
Listen to this, though. We got a tweet from David Lothar. I was prescribed Ambien after knee surgery. Apparently, after I took one, I sleptwalked, took another, got all of my pants, and took pictures of them because I was apparently going to sell all of them on eBay. Then I lost my car keys in the back of my closet. That's a good one. Ambien stories welcome on the Strategy Show.
Yes. There you go. In the comment section after the video, give us your best Ambien stories. Be sure to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel so you can get all of your updates on everyone's Ambien stories. 2 games to go. Miami Heat, Indiana.
Kevin Huerter's interesting. He's still playing backup point guard minutes. Just wanted to throw that out there.
Let's swing it back there. I agree. Kevin Huerter is my favorite Hawk on FanDuel.
I don't think that's crazy at all. And he's locked into the 32 plus minutes right now. I don't have an issue with it. I mean, per minute, he's not great, but I don't think Kevin Huerter at 53 on FanDuel is a bad play at all.
Adam Best said, "Dude, Ambien is a trip. I stripped my bed of my sheets and pillows and put them in my fridge." Pretty sure that's Step Brothers.
I was just going to say, yeah, did you put pillows in your oven too?
I'll believe you, but I'm pretty sure I saw that movie before.
Yeah, I think so too. And then he buried someone alive in the front yard because they touched his drum set.
Yeah. Did you do karate in the garage after that? And then you ended up working this gigantic cocktail party where you sang a Latin opera.
Do you have a signed samurai sword by Randy?
Oh, Randy Jackson.
Randy Jackson.
While touching yourself to Good Housekeeping. Miami Heat are 5-point favorites at home against the Indiana Pacers. 109.25 implied total for those Heat. We are still without Justice Winslow, who at some point in time needs to get his way back here so he can be traded. A little bit of ownership coming into these guys on FanDuel's side, a little bit less so on DraftKings unless your name is Jimmy Butler, who is for some strange reason $7,800. He's very clearly the guy that I like the most on DK. Derrick Jones Jr., probably my close second at 4,300, although his minutes are not as high as they were a week ago. You can talk me into some $4,100 Derrick Jones Jr. on FanDuel. I think Goran Dragic for $5,100 looks fine. I don't mind getting to Bam. He is 9K on FanDuel right now, and that just seems like the wrong amount of money to be spending on a center, given the pay down options we know we have, or the ability to actually just get to Joel Embiid.
Exactly. I'm with you. Honestly, I feel similarly on DraftKings too. Bam Adebayo has been spectacular, but 8,900, I don't think it's not like he's egregiously overpriced at all, and he's getting big minutes. So I'm okay with him. But once again, when you look at this position, there's a lot here. And there's also, there's more pay down options even on DraftKings, and I'll tell you why. Because not only do you have Aron Baynes at 48, you have Willie Cauley-Stein at 4,500, and this guy's played 30 minutes in back-to-back games.
Do you understand that?
Understand what?
I guess we'll wait till we get to the Warriors. It's fine. That stood out to me in a really awkward way, but we'll get to it.
All right, we will. Look, Jimmy Butler, 7,800. I'm never going to rail against playing Jimmy Butler at that price point. He's definitely come back down to earth a little bit lately. But if you take a look at the numbers, there's nothing to be concerned about. It's just some days the assists haven't been there when the rebounds, points, and steals have. Some days the points haven't been there when the assists and rebounds and steals have. Some days the assists haven't been there when the points, rebounds, and steals. I say this because the steals have been consistently great. When they have, it's not like he's fallen off in one category. It's just the past like 5 or so games, he hasn't put all of the pieces together like we had seen him done previously. That's not something that concerns me. And he's had a couple of very difficult matchups, Philly and Utah. I'm willing to give him a pass there. New York, he didn't need to do anything. He shot 3 times. He basically took the night off. Yeah. He was on the floor, took the night off. So I'm anyone that's looking at that and saying you should be concerned, I don't see any issue with it at all. If he went out there and dropped a 25, 10, 8, and 3 steal game today, no one would be surprised.
We're getting really good ambient stories.
Oh, yes.
My cousin cut up his hot dogs and put them in the cereal. When we tried to stop him, he grabbed a spoon and pointed it at us and yelled, "Just let me do my thing, man."
I don't think you can make that up.
I mean, even if you did, that's just funny. That's great writing.
And yes, Adam Best, ambient similar to Xanax, except Xanax feels a lot better. Let's not fool ourselves.
Anyway, I'm a little surprised that the ownership on Miami isn't slightly higher just because of the prices of some of these guys. Am I like grossly overrating someone like Goran Dragic at 15% ownership, or even Derrick Jones Jr., especially on FanDuel at 4,100, given the way that position looks?
I personally wasn't there, but when you look at this slate, like you zoom out and look at this slate, there's 2 really appealing games.
Yeah.
Then there's OKC and Charlotte, which is appealing because there's injuries. And then there's Philly, Orlando, Miami, Indiana. I'm waiting on Malcolm Brogdon news, which is going to play a role. Justice Winslow's out. We know that. But I don't know. To me, it's Jimmy Butler. And then the rest of this team kind of falls off a cliff. I see what you're saying with Goran Dragic, but I don't know. Do you think there's enough upside in Goran Dragic to get you there? That's always my concern with him. Like if he gets you 30 fantasy points, it's a good day.
I see all these guys so massively ahead. I think that point guard looks really similar relative to salary up and down the line. I'm mostly speaking from a FanDuel perspective here. So if I'm getting the same thing everywhere, do I really need to go to 26% owned Ricky Rubio at 7,200? Is Goran Dragic not just like good enough for 51? I just feel like he's going up over or underrepresented. And then we're getting like Fultz at 14 and DJ Augustine at 16. And it's like, well, yeah, I'd just rather have Goran Dragic. I think he's better than both of those guys and is going to play in what should be a fully competitive game from start to finish.
If you were to ask me, would you rather have Goran Dragic or Markelle Fultz? Clearly Goran Dragic. Goran Dragic or Aaron Holiday. If Brogdon is out, still Goran Dragic. So the players priced similarly to him at his position, I like him more. I can tell you that. Okay. I don't love him though.
Works for me. On the Indiana side, you mentioned we're going to be waiting on Brogdon. I mean, if we're lucky, we get this news. It's going to be a bit of a pain in the ass. We've got Sabonis at 24% ownership on FanDuel and 20 on DK. I'm not super crazy about that, but there's no downside to getting him. When he shows up in your lineups, he's never a guy where you're like, damn it, I need to get that out of there. I just don't think that it's like wildly appealing. Miami's just good, hard-nosed team. It's just never fun to roster guys against Miami from a DFS perspective. And then after that, if Brogdon is in, I like him for 6,600 on FanDuel. I have no interest in anything else from Miami, and neither does the public. We don't have a single person from Indiana projected north of 6% ownership outside of Sabonis.
Yeah. I like John Collins over him anyway. So, that's kind of a decision that you'll have to make. They're similarly priced pretty much everywhere. And by the way, with Bam, when you were mentioning Bam, were you talking about it on DraftKings?
What do you mean?
When you said like you could pay down or pay up when you mentioned him earlier, were you talking FanDuel or DraftKings?
He's FanDuel, basically. 9K on FanDuel.
I forgot he's power forward, though.
He is.
Right.
So, like,
okay.
If I like Embiid and I like Giannis, the chances of me getting to Bam out of that trio is basically zero, and he is very clearly worst of those like types of pay-up options.
You weren't talking specific position. You're saying pay-up options.
Yeah.
It didn't make sense to get there. I agree.
No, I mean, he's the fourth most expensive guy on the slate on FanDuel.
I know. I like Dre over Sabonis, who's considerably cheaper, and John Collins. So, like, if I ended up with Sabonis, I would be okay with that. But I wouldn't want to have like a lot more Sabonis than John Collins or Draymond Green. So that's pretty much where I'm at on him. The rest of this team, highly underwhelming. It's a difficult matchup. I expect it to be a low-scoring defensive game. It should be competitive, so there's that. Maybe you get double overtime, Josh. But yeah, there's not a whole lot there. Like you said, Malcolm Brogdon, he's cheap. There's that, but even so, it's just a pretty unappealing game. Specifically unappealing team for the Indiana Pacers.
I can't think of a game I would want to watch less go to double overtime than a regular season tilt between the Heat and Pacers.
Oh yeah, no thanks.
They might still not have guys that are fantasy viable.
Ace Sherbert says, these two were saying Beal and Drummond yesterday. Glad I didn't take their advice. Well, Josh wasn't here yesterday, so that's just
haven't done a strategy show since last Friday.
Not factually accurate statement that you made. So cool.
I think that if you paid attention a little bit more, Ace Sherbert, that might have saved you a bit.
Yeah. And
I wasn't even a host.
Yeah, 30-point blowouts will do that to you, fella. But I'm glad you came back.
Yeah, welcome back, Ace Sherbert. Sounds more like the, four of clubs, Sherbert. It's been a while, man. I don't have any. It's not like I was good at that stuff before, but these jokes are garbage today.
You're just unloading with fire.
I'm pretty sure the flu medicine's hitting right about now.
Dude, we had a guy in here yesterday with a screen name Royce O'Neal. And I was like, it's not the real Royce O'Neal. He spelled Royce O'Neal wrong. So he's spamming illiterate gibberish, right? Like no idea what it meant. And
so it's just like all of YouTube chat. Sorry, guys.
So YouTube, listen, YouTube chat was solid because they're like, yo, Laffy, he's trying to say that he had a dream and then he typed out again, gibberish, just complete illegible crap. This is the lineup that basically this is the lineup that's going to crush. I wonder if we could go back and find it. So he gets kicked out and then he returns with Royce O'Neal spelled the correct way, starts spamming it again, gets kicked out, returns, but now he's Emmanuel Mudiay. And it just so happened that there was a tweet yesterday from, I guess, a Utah beat writer that said Royce O'Neal is about to have a breakdown. The real Royce O'Neal. Everything came together perfectly, Josh. Everything was perfect.
Oh, I'm sorry that I missed that.
And I told chat, you and I, we're pretty open here, right? we tell our lives and stuff when people care. If they don't, well, whatever. Ace Sherbert, I never use any of their picks. These guys are clowns. Leave, my dude. Just get out there. And why are we begging for? No one's begging. I'm done with him. Anyway, I was like, yeah, both of my front door and back door cameras just tripped at the same time, and everyone comes in with it's Royce O'Neal. So it was a fun night. We did well, and I'm done.
Oh God, that's good. I hate when I miss that stuff.
I know you're usually right in the thick of it.
We have one final game to go, Warriors Suns, but I do want to touch one thing before we head out of here and finish this one off. So just hit the thumbs up first and foremost. Jordan Clarkson got traded while I was out. You nailed that one, man. Yes, he did.
I told you they were showcasing him, dude.
Yeah. Now, what I really think was happening is that the Jazz were desperate to get off of a couple years worth of Dante Exum and attach some picks to him, but it worked out nonetheless.
Sure.
Interesting stuff. I like Dante Exum going to the Cavs if he could ever stay on the floor.
Says no one ever.
Still young, man. Still young.
I like Anthony Bennett going to the Timberwolves.
Oh, these are two very different things. Dante Exum's been good when he's on the floor. He's just never healthy.
Yeah, no, I know.
Golden State Warriors, Phoenix Suns. Phoenix Suns, 3-point favorites in Golden State. Whew, there's a lot to like here. D'Angelo Russell, Willie Cauley-Stein, Draymond Green, Alec Burks, Damian Lee, Glenn Robinson, all in double digits in ownership. Willie Cauley-Stein for $4,500 on DraftKings is, in my opinion, the clear best play of the day on DK. I wouldn't know what else to do. I gave him 30 minutes. I don't understand why he was only playing like 20 minutes when they only had 8 guys, but now that they're like way more healthy with way more big guys, they're like, all right, buddy, now you can go out there and play your ass off.
Yeah. That didn't make any sense to me. So, okay. This is what we're revisiting from a minute ago. What about Dre too, with the fact that Steve Kerr's like, he's going to be limited to, 27, 28 minutes. And now he's coming off 39, 33, 34 minutes. Like that went out the window quickly.
Yeah. I expected him to like never play legitimate minutes for the rest of the season. And they were just like, oh yeah, that was just like 2 days worth. I don't get it. I don't know what the Warriors' plan is any longer.
I don't either, but I really like them today. I know he's going to be popular, but I love D'Angelo Russell. I think it's really tough to get away from him at this price point. Last game he played 31 minutes, but he didn't come back in for his last stint in the fourth. He'll start the fourth. He'll play like 5 or 6 minutes, and then he'll come out for a few minutes, and he'll play the final 4 or so minutes is what we've seen. He didn't play those final minutes. They amazingly beat Houston on Christmas. I really like him. Like Draymond Green a lot at this price point. I think it's tough to get away from him as well. And then Willie Cauley-Stein on DraftKings is just way too cheap. $4,500. Okay, maybe he goes back to playing 24 minutes. That would suck. But even at 24 minutes, $4,500, he's probably not going to kill you there. He's averaging just above a fantasy point per minute this season. He's going up against a Phoenix team that hasn't really done much to show us anything. Aron Baynes does not rebound well either. You look at his rebounding numbers, they're highly underwhelming. I think Cauley-Stein should be able to rack up some pretty solid peripheral stats against the Phoenix team that on the season plays at a top 10 pace and has a bottom 10 defense. I like him. I like Green. I like Russell. I really like this game, especially given that on the other side of it, Devin Booker's price, I know he's been very, he's struggled from a fantasy standpoint, but it's 6,900 on DraftKings is just downright silly. And Aron Baynes is too cheap as well, given that he's coming off 2 games with 30 plus minutes. This game's loaded. I love it.
So do I. I'm going to have an insane amount of Willie Cauley-Stein on DraftKings. I have a hard time separating Russell, Willie Cauley-Stein, Burks, Lee, and Glenn Robinson on FanDuel, just like relative to their salary. I want all of these dudes significantly more than they're owned right now. I just want to have a ton of this game. I want to have ownership that looks a lot more like the Phoenix side. Booker, Rubio, Oubre, Baynes, all 25 to 30% owned on FanDuel. Aron Baynes is 4,100 on FanDuel. He's been playing, close to 30 minutes. I've got him in for 30. I'm going to have an absolute ton of him. 4,800 on DraftKings, still super viable. He's second favorite guy in this game behind Willie Cauley-Stein. I mean, this is the late night hammer is going to make up everything for me.
Everything. It's the Milwaukee, Atlanta, definitely, like, in terms of points scored, is projected for a lot more. I think in overall, I hate saying this because things can go wild all the time, but in overall predictability, it's hard to not think this Golden State Phoenix game is better. And it still has the second highest total on the slate, 224. Very solid. I've given you the guys already that I really like here, and I just think it's a great game on all sides. Even Kelly Oubre, who's probable to play, is viable because 38 minutes is 38 minutes. Yep. I will say this much though: Golden State started the season from October 22nd, I think, when the season began, to December 1st. With a bottom 4 defensive rating. It was really bad. If you look at them over the last 26 days, so since the start of December, the Golden State Warriors defensive rating is 10th best in the league. So I do want to throw that out there at least. They're also playing at a bottom 10 pace over that span. So they really have made improvements. They don't make for the best fantasy matchup right now, but I'm not too concerned about that because I think this game stays close. And look, Vegas is Vegas. They still have it at 224, way higher than Miami, Indy, way higher than Orlando, Philly, way higher than Charlotte, OKC.
It's the perfect spot tonight. Two garbage teams with perfectly priced guys with plenty of, well, I don't know about plenty, with definite DFS upside.
Yeah.
Let's sum it all
up. Where are you
at
on Damian Lee?
Gonna have a bunch. He's my third favorite guy on the Warriors on FanDuel. He is my fourth favorite guy on the Warriors on DraftKings. Now that sounds like he's down the line a bit, but that's just sort of a testament to how much I like the guys in this game. There's just going to be so much volume of exposure coming to Golden State and Phoenix. Let's sum it up.
Real quick. There was a comment in chat from David Zalewski says, Draymond was going on about Cauley-Stein after the game, giving him credit for their recent success. I don't see that one, but I did look it up. And I see Willie Cauley-Stein is crediting Draymond Green for his recent or his improved defensive play. So thanking Draymond Green for helping Willie Cauley-Stein get his defense better. I'm sure there's something else that I'm missing where Draymond says it about him, but it is interesting that Willie Cauley-Stein has seen a noticeable change in his defensive play lately. Either way, that price is just too cheap.
Totally is. Shem Anglade, I'm probably butchering your name. Thank you for the super chat. What pair would you guys pick in a DK single entry GPP? Fournier and Baynes or Dragic and Brook Lopez?
I wonder if it's Shem Anglade.
I have no idea.
I have no idea.
I'm confident in Shem. I would probably say Fournier and Baynes, just because I think I like Baynes the most out of the four of those guys.
It's Drag. I'm gonna, I think, go Dragic and Lopez.
Okay. Give me your favorite. Close, give me your favorite DraftKings plays, and let's get out of here and turn this over to the football guys.
Giannis Antetokounmpo, obviously. D'Angelo Russell, Willie Cauley-Stein, Draymond Green. Obviously, I really like this game. I think Aron Baynes is too cheap. Chris Paul, I like quite a bit. And yeah, those are probably the top guys. I do think that Jimmy Butler is still too cheap at 7,800 as well. Oh, and Joel, how could I forget? We talked about this. Joel Embiid's ownership, single digits on a slate like this, insanity.
It's completely nuts. I will have way more than that 9% number that we see.
What about you on FanDuel?
FanDuel is going to be...
Thanks, Coach S. $25. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. I was going to hit it too when I was done giving off this list.
All right, go ahead.
Point guard's really tough. I'm going to play the ownership game, so hopefully Malcolm Brogdon ends up in, but give me some Terry Rozier, give me some Goran Dragic, give me some George Hill. Shooting guard, we're looking at Devin Booker, Jimmy Butler, Devonte Graham, Kevin Herter. Small forward, going to be Kelly Oubre, Glenn Robinson, Derrick Jones, and then I assume I'm going to have more than enough money to get all of the Giannis that I want. Power forward, two guys only. John Collins, PJ Washington. Only guys I'm interested in. Center, give me some Embiid, Brook Lopez, Aron Baynes. Thank you to Coach S11, or Coach S111. Hope you guys had a good Christmas. Josh was down with the flu. Glad you're back. Thank you very much. By the way, super hilarious. Alex wore the Ginger Snap t-shirt I gave him at the World Final. Red Rifle got it done. It's awesome, man. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. Stay tuned. Coming up immediately after this, Chris Randone and Manny Laura talking Week 17 in the NFL. It's finally over. I'm not mad about it. Laffy, anything else?
That'll do it, man. Yeah, don't go anywhere. Coming up next, deeper dive tonight. Adam's deep dive article at awesomeo.com. It's been a fun week. Thanks for hanging out with us as always, fellas. It's always enjoyable in the morning, man. It gets my day off on the right foot. This is therapeutic for me, just as it is for anyone else. It probably drives people nuts.
Actually. I needed it too. Talk to you guys later.